Welcome to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. I'm glad you're joining us because from top to bottom, we've got an SGA-esque MVP show for you today. Let's start from the top. One of my all-time favorites, WWE Superstar, The Miz, Mike Mizanin. He's got some huge, bold predictions for his beloved Cleveland Browns, and he's going to tell us about his brand new hosting gig. He's bringing back American Gladiators. Then, former Atmosphere champs, the D3, joined me to talk Eastern Conference Finals, Game 2 bets, as well as Oilers Stars. Plus, we'll discuss how the Tush Push sticking around, bullshit, will affect some Eagles props bets next season. But before any of that, it's time for a segment that tests my reflexes and reactions. It involves our producer and diehard Backstreet Boys fan, babyface Joel Solomon, throwing up a crumpled piece of paper with a thought written on it in my direction. I'll catch it, I'll read it, I'll tell you my thoughts on the issue. We call this Tossing Topics. All right, babyface. Fire away. All right, Pope mural. Yes, history was made a few weeks ago when white smoke emerged from the Sistine Chapel and a new pope was selected, the first ever American-born pope, and I think possibly the first pope to have a FanDuel account. I can't confirm, but I'd like to think so. The internet quickly found footage of Pope Leo XIV at the 2005 World Series in Chicago, and before he even got fitted for a silly hat, it was decided that he was indeed a White Sox fan and not a Cubs fan. A rare win for the Sox this season, and now the Shy Sox are taking his holiness and running with him. The White Sox have made a mural of their highest-powered fan at Rate Field right outside section 140 where he once sat, thankfully away from the actual field so that fans can admire it and not have to lay eyes on the pitiful team in action, but close enough to the concession stand where you could down a 3,000 calorie cake shake just like God intended. And if I'm the Pope, I'm like, thanks, guys, but can we please not make a big deal of this? I was caught at a White Sox game. It was a long time ago. I've done 900 Hail Marys and a half dozen Mother May I's to try to negate this. Have you ever heard of Forgive Me, Father, for I have sinned? His White Sox fandom is a blemish on the Catholic Church. They're already 20 games under 500. I didn't even know 20 games have been played already. I have a feeling this mural is just the beginning, too. The marketing team is going to try to capitalize on this. Regular water, $12 a bottle. Holy water, going to yield a fortune. The man made an honest mistake rooting for the White Sox. Let's not make him relive it. Let's do this, White Sox. Set up your Pope bobblehead night, make your money, and that's enough. Let peace be with you. All right, toss me another one, babyface. Belichick engagement. I'm so glad we're talking about Bill Belichick. We almost went a whole week without Bill Belichick and what's-her-face girlfriend news. And then reports came out that gal pal Jordan told at least one person that she was engaged to the legendary coach. That one person turned out to be her friend Hannah while they were playing in the McDonald's jungle gym. And just like that, everyone knew. A lot of people are bummed about this, but when it comes to Bill Belichick, I believe we should take prunes and make prune juice. And by that, I of course mean by betting on his every move. So FanDuel, please do your job and place odds on the upcoming nuptials. Let's start the hitched handicapping. I have some thought starters. How about Bill wears a hoodie tuxedo, 2-1 odds. Drunk Rob Gronkowski spikes the wedding cake, 4-1 odds. Stephen Belichick's mullet gets chosen to deliver the best man speech, plus 450. Bride Jordan interrupts the Till Death Do Us Part with her famous, we're not talking about that, 7-1 odds. And finally, during the reception, the bride gets caught making out with Ramsey the mascot in the coat check room, minus 350. Yeah. Look, for better or worse, I think we finally admit love wins because God knows with all these distractions, the UNC football team will not. Toss me one more, babyface. Good. Alvarado suspension. All right, this was interesting. Earlier this week, Philadelphia Filthies closer Jose Alvarado was suspended 80 games plus the playoffs for PED use. But what made this particular big head bust interesting was his claim that the positive test resulted from ingesting a weight reduction drug. Now, I'm not an expert on dieting by any means, but I'm pretty sure they don't include this side effect on the bottle of Ozempic. You might experience hair loss, low testosterone, and an 80-game suspension from Commish Manfred. Let's give Alvarado the benefit of the gout and say it was a weight loss pill, okay? Because I get it. In Philly, you're up against the best cheesesteaks in the world. But more importantly, why did Jose feel the need to lose weight? Couldn't he see the best baseball players were lovable and fat? I can't go 3 hours without seeing Bartolo Colon's magical home run on my Twitter timeline. You think Babe Ruth ever thought about taking a weight loss supplement? No way. The Sultan of Swataburger would chow down on a hoagie during a home run trot. The man hit his weight, 342, and the whole world loved him for it. So come on, Jose. Next time you go and do something so dumb as to try to lose weight, email me. And don't forget to CC Sabathia. All right, now here's some more food for thought. It's time for my irrationally angry attempt to make rational sense of a somewhat irrational bet. It's Wager Rage. Wager Rager is here, and I'm raging hard today with a bet against Aaron Judge to win the Triple Crown. You know, Yankee haters and overall naysayers like me can go to FanDuel Sportsbook, and look, you have to pay a little, but that's how you get nice things in this world. Minus 210 that Aaron Judge does not lead the American League in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. It's tough to accomplish historically. Only 10 players have won a total of 12 Triple Crowns. Not even the Babe, a superhuman Frankfurter flexor, could pull it off. There are a lot of obstacles between Aaron Judge and a Triple Crown. Injury is always a factor. Remember, a couple seasons ago, Aaron stubbed his toe and sat out 2 months. He could get suspended after accidentally ingesting a fat pill. Oh, his trainer and jockey can pull him out of the RBI race. I might be confusing my Triple Crowns. Either way, the no is minus 210, and you know me, I hate being negative unless that negative turns positive. And, you know, you might be saying, oh, Sal, this is just sour grapes because last weekend you had to eat a tattoo from a Cracker Jack box after your Mets blew the series against the Yankees.
Oh, this is not good.
Yeah, probably a little sour grapes. Sour ink for sure. Although I will say, it's pretty cool having your spleen tatted up heading into beach season. Don't judge me, judge Aaron. Time for our first break. When we return, he's the unofficial mayor of Cleveland sports. The Miz joins us to talk Cleveland Browns and their four-headed quarterback conundrum, plus WWE Money in the Bank. That's all next on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. With the exception of LeBron James, our next guest is the only athlete to bring a major championship back to Cleveland in the last 275 years. Yes, I looked it up. And very soon, he'll be bringing American Gladiators back to television. He currently holds a record for most losses in WWE history with over 1,300, and he agreed to take another L when I forced him to come on my show. Mike the Miz Mizanin. What's happening, Miz?
What an honor to be here, and what an introduction. Yes. Telling everyone one of my many accolades. Not he's the first ever two-time Grand Slam champion in the history of WWE, has won the WWE Championship twice, main evented WrestleMania, beating the poster child John Cena, who is the champion right now of WWE. No, you chose to go with has the most losses ever in WWE history. But that just goes to show that you can lose so many matches, but all that matters is the big ones.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And it's funnier. It's just funnier to say.
It is funnier. You're a funny guy, Sal.
Yeah,
you're a funny guy.
Thank you. I still got it. Listen, I love the Gladiator stuff, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But first, let's talk about your beloved Cleveland Browns. I know the draft was a month ago, but let's discuss this. What that day was like, that night was like for you. They trade out of the 2 spot. Let's start there. They trade out of the 2 spot and let the Jaguars take Travis Hunter. First of all, were you bummed that your team may have passed on a generational two-way player?
Can I set up where I was and what was happening and what was going on? I was on an airplane, right? And I walk on this airplane and I tell everyone, I go, look, the Browns are going to draft Travis Hunter while we are on this plane. Number 2, a generational talent. He's on offense. He's on defense. The best football player in the entire draft is going to the Cleveland Browns. And this is like a 4-hour flight. So I fall asleep because that's what I do. That's the only time I actually can sleep. So I'm sleeping and all of a sudden I hear, oh, and I wake up and Dawkins is looking at me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, did you see? And I go, no, what? He goes, they traded out of it. And I go, no, they didn't. That's the only thing I didn't want them to do is trade out of it. Like, you know, there's a bunch of people that I wanted them to take, right? My dream scenario was Travis Hunter in the first and then trade up before Pittsburgh. And this is at this time and get Shedeur. That's what I wanted. Those were the 2 things that I wanted. I thought I could get them. When you first think you're getting Travis Hunter, and then you're told you're not getting him, and then the team that traded in is getting him, you're upset, obviously. And I was very upset. But then looking like later on, I found out what we got in return, and what we got is draft picks. And I mean, I think we literally routed the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially now hearing that Travis Hunter is not, is stumbling over his steps. Now, granted, it's rookie practice. Travis Hunter is going to be Travis Hunter. He's going to be an amazing football player in the NFL. I think both ways. That's what I'm saying. But still, I looked at what we got in the draft to get Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round when I thought he was a first-round pick is unbelievable to me. And not to mention like Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. People are like, well, there's so many quarterbacks. It's like, yeah, we need them. We need as many quarterbacks as we possibly can get. So I can name a list of people if you just stick with these quarterbacks and let them develop. Like, that's what I'm hoping the Browns do. They let Shedeur as well as Dylan Gabriel develop. And maybe Kenny Pickett has developed. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. Couple things now. First of all, with all the ribbing that goes on in the WWE, I can't believe when you woke up or they woke you up, they didn't say the Browns forgot to pick. They forgot. They skipped it like the Vikings did famously years ago. And whatever. What you would have found out 40 seconds later, but at least that would have gone pretty viral. And you would have believed it too, because it's a Browns.
I think that it was a bigger reaction of me not getting what I wanted. Okay. I think them even if they would have been like, they skipped the pick, I'd have been like, wait, what? I'd been confused. Wouldn't have understood. But if you tell me they traded out and the other team got Travis Hunter, you're going to get a reaction.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's do this now. So they have odds up on FanDuel of who is going to take the first snap for the Cleveland Browns. Okay. I don't know if you've seen these. Well, first of all, let me ask you, actually, maybe this is a better way to do this because you haven't seen the odds. Out of Flacco, Pickett, Sanders, and Gabriel, who do you think should be favored to take the first snap?
This is going to be a little long. Okay. I'm telling you, because Joe Flacco, I couldn't stand when he was on the Baltimore Ravens because he gave me hell for so many years. And then we took him and got him and he took us to the playoffs. I started loving Joe Flacco. Then we traded him and or didn't even re-sign him. Why? I don't know. We'd rather have Jameis Winston, which, by the way, very entertaining. Love watching Jameis Winston all day long for other teams because I like his promos so much. But I honestly if I'm being completely honest, I think Kenny Pickett is the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in game 1, even though I would love to see Joe Flacco. But to see what we have in Kenny Pickett and to see what other quarterbacks have been able to do a couple years in and go to different teams, now that he has been on a Super Bowl winning team, maybe Kenny Pickett has learned something from all the people that he has stood behind.
All right. Well, you could get a nice price for Kenny Pickett. Plus 220. Flacco is, in fact, the favorite to take the first snap at plus 116. Shedeur plus 370. I would go with Dylan Gabriel at plus 830 because it's such a crapshoot. Who knows who emerges in that month? I mean, I'm talking to you the 3rd week in May right now, but plus 830 for like a photo finish at this point. I don't know.
Have you been listening to the rookie mini camps for the Cleveland Browns? A lot of people, and I've heard many stories said that Shedeur is light years ahead of Dylan Gabriel. When you see the ball snapped and the ball out of his hand, Shedeur looks the part, is what people were saying. Now, could I be wrong? I didn't see it with my own eyes. Absolutely not. I'm just going exactly what I've been hearing from the media, which a lot of times the media are wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, someone's going to have egg on their face here. I mean, not so much the Browns. It doesn't really matter at this point, right? But do you look at this?
I've developed a tendency to have egg on my face at all times.
That's right.
But I also put it on my face because I tell everyone that we're going to the Super Bowl, and I got to be honest,
well, don't
after
say
this
that.
Draft, I do believe we're going to the Super Bowl again.
Not this year.
One of these guys are going to be a franchise quarterback and is going to lead us. They have enough weapons. We got 2 running backs now that are young, that are hungry, that are dogs. We have, our defensive tackle, our first round draft pick, Mason, is going to be right next to Myles Garrett. I mean, think about that. The quarterbacks aren't going to be able to even get the ball out. So, I mean, they're just going to have to run against us, which is going to be very difficult. I think this is a good team. And Kevin Stefanski is a two-time coach of the year.
I know.
So
light years ago, to use your phrase, but yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you really are a crazy person. They're 30 to 1 to win the division.
How
They're 30 to 1.
We're going to win the division. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right?
You don't even know who your quarterback is, and he's not better than Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, right?
But you've seen what Kevin Stefanski is able to do with the quarterbacks that he has been given.
Yeah, sure. 3 wins. Yeah, he gets to the top of the draft every year. You're right. Yeah. All right.
That's not true. I mean, we've had 2 out of 4 seasons that were playoffs.
All right, listen to me, because this is getting off the rails. But here's what was interesting with the draft. This is the last note on the draft for me. I was in Green Bay last month, and we saw Seth Rollins, right? Big Bears fan, gets up there on stage, and he trolled the crap out of the Packers fans, right? And this seems like a no-brainer for you next year, because the draft is in Pittsburgh. You go up for the Browns, take shots at the black and gold faithful. You have to do this.
I would be brown, orange, and white, and just light them up.
I love it.
But we had to do something to them, right? Like this year, we'd have to beat them like twice or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's almost funnier if you're just like trolling. I mean, I don't know. Are the Bears better than the Packers that Seth Rollins should have been out there?
Yeah, right. That's true.
All right. Listen, another Cleveland team, the Cavs, got bounced by Indiana. Did you feel that was coming, or you just numb to this now?
I didn't get that one at all. No. I thought we were going to trounce the Pacers, but yeah, I gotta hand it to Tyrese Halliburton, man. He is able to lead that team like a point guard should. And I thought this was our year. Like I was like, we're going. And then when Tatum went down, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to the finals. There's no doubt in my mind. Like we've played OKC and we've beaten OKC, but we can't beat the Pacers for some reason. And the Knicks are another one that give us a hard time every time.
I think the problem was the writing was on the wall last June at Madison Square Garden. The WWE had Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson stare each other down. Should Triple H just write all the scripts for the NBA? I mean, it's amazing.
I think he should. I mean, this is long-term storytelling. That's what we do in WWE. When people are saying, they're not doing enough long-term storytelling. Well, look at the NBA, baby, because you got it. You had it at Madison Square Garden, and now we have it again. Like 6 months later at Madison Square Garden.
Congratulations. Last week it was announced you're going to reboot one of my favorite shows of all time, and I know yours too, American Gladiators. You are the host. I don't know if I could think of a better host because you're going to have the enthusiasm. The only drawback is you might get caught watching, like really rooting for certain people to win or lose, I could see, because I know that's in your nature too. But other than that, you're ideal for this. Do you remember Gladiators as a kid? What you liked most about it?
Oh my gosh. I remember. Do I remember as a kid? I went to the live show. I remember the live show at Gund Arena at the time is what it was called when in Cleveland. And they came and I was like, Dad, we got to go. Oh my gosh. The American Gladiators is coming. And I remember vividly Atmosphere. Like, I don't know why. I remember having like a hamster and I would put him in a ball and I'd watch him roll around. And then watching Atmosphere, like I was like, oh my gosh, that's like my hamster. I want to be that person. And now, with bringing back American Gladiators, going through the meetings, let me tell you, man, they not only are they bringing the nostalgia back, but they're upping the ante by so much. There's new events that I can't even describe and tell you about, but because it's so early right now, like we haven't even begun filming yet. We've just been talking and then seeing like pictures of like the gladiators and what they look like and who they'll be. And it's like, oh man, I'm telling you, like as much as we loved it as kids, the kids now are going to love it even more. And us as parents, and as old as knowing the first version, I think we'll appreciate the nostalgia that it brings back, but also the fireworks and the now that it brings to light. And so it's going to be absolutely incredible.
By the way, fireworks themselves would be a good idea. Just randomly place them on the obstacle course or something. But I think, listen, they could go back to the old events and I'd be like, great. I remember how rough it was. It was like kind of like wrestling and football put together. Yeah. Remember the one where it was like, like you had to dunk a ball into a Powerball, basically a trash can, and that would get physical. Like they would get nose to nose, and they were so much bigger than these freaking buff lunatic athletes that would run out there. You
got to remember, like the contenders are like everyday people that are like, some of them go to the gym here and there, but they're your accountant, they're your lawyer, they're the guy like, your next door neighbor.
Miz, before you go, we've got one more question for you. I call this Cousins Conundrum.
Cousins Conundrum.
Okay. All right. So WWE's Money in the Bank, as you mentioned, is coming up on June 7th. It's here in Los Angeles. You've actually won this and then cashed in the briefcase. You won the title against Randy Orton, right? We don't have to review that. But here's, with my conundrum, you win a different kind of briefcase. It's called the Cleveland Sports Money in the Bank briefcase. And here's what it does. You can run down and change the outcome of any moment in Cleveland sports history.
The drive.
Wow. You don't even think about it.
No, the drive. If that drive by John Elway on January 11th, 1987 did not happen, by the way, I know the date, how terrible. Like I remember it was a 7-year-old. If that drive never happened, we go to the Super Bowl, we win the Super Bowl. No doubt in my mind.
Really? So that's the one.
That would have changed the trajectory because then we would never have lost our team. Yeah. We would still have Belichick as our coach.
Right.
Think about this. 1987, the drive never happens. 1988, the fumble never happens. Right. 1995, Art Modell is not selling the Cleveland Browns because they are a Super Bowl winning team. Then, not to mention, we don't go through a quarterback carousel because we have Bill Belichick, who probably would give us Tom Brady.
The Biner fumble, but you did better because you went the year before and you said that set everything in motion. You could have said LeBron's decision. You could have run up on LeBron right before he made the decision to leave.
I was glad he did it because what he said afterwards was, I needed to figure out what a winning franchise feels like and bring it back to Cleveland. And that's exactly what he did.
I think you picked the right one. There's just too many.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I'm going to give you a free bet because you're always so good about coming on. I'm guessing it's something Cleveland related, maybe Guardians. Don't take the Browns to win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. That's a waste. I'm giving you a nice free bet. You could take them over under wins. You could take, God forbid, the Browns to win the division.
We have the second hardest schedule out of anyone this season. So it's going to be very difficult for us.
Well, you did pick them to win the Super Bowl, but all right.
That doesn't mean they're gonna have an undefeated season.
Gotcha.
Even though I would pick them to have an undefeated season. I mean, let's go over what?
Well, how about this? Here's a nice little compromise between the Super Bowl and over under wins. How about the Browns to make the playoffs? Do you want to do that?
Done. Let's do that. Browns make the playoffs this year.
Plus 820. 820. 8-1.
Let's make some money.
100 to win $820. You're a winner, Miz. That's what you do. Thanks so much.
Chicken dinner. Let's go.
I appreciate it. Sunday, June 7th, Money in the Bank and hosting American Gladiators and probably coaching the Cleveland Browns in 2027. Thanks for coming on, Miz.
No, Kevin Stefanski is going to stay on.
All right. All right. It's you and Kevin. We'll be right back with the D3 when Cousin Sal's winning weekend continues.
To Cousin Sal's winning weekend. Let's keep this money train moving and bring in our next guest. They are my wizards of wagering, my gurus of gambling, my barons of betting, my overlords of the odds from the Against All Odds podcast at D3, Harry, Brother Bry, Darren the Parlay Kid. What is happening, fellas?
What's going on, Sal?
What's up, Sal?
What's going on, buddy?
All right, I feel like, Brother Bry, Parlay Kid, they're okay. They're re-energized after that Knicks game. They've had a couple days to think about it. But listen, now I'm going to bring you back down to earth and more bad times because I just talked to The Miz, who's a delightful fella, and I asked him if they did wrestling's Money in the Bank briefcase, but with sports, and it allowed you to change one event, one play, one game in sports history. He is a huge Cleveland Browns fan, said he changed the drive, masterminded by Elway back in 87. Which would you use it for? Bri, I'm going to start with you. You're a big Raiders fan. I have a feeling it's Raiders related, although I know you have Yankees and the Knicks, the aforementioned Knicks. But go ahead. What do you have?
Yeah, so this was a really tough one. I really could have gone a few different ways here. So many losers in my life here. But the Bo Jackson injury versus the Bengals, that was definitely the toughest for me, Sal. Like, Bo Jackson was my favorite athlete, or still is my favorite athlete of all time. He is the reason I'm a Raiders fan, which, terrible. Thanks a lot, Bo. But just such a what-if career, right? I was traumatized. I remember, I was just turned 11 years old when he got hurt. And, it was right before, they beat the Bengals that game, but it was right before going to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So not that we were going to win that game against the Bills anyway, but I just wanted to see Bo in that game. So we lost a few great years for Bo at football because he's the type of player who probably would have stopped playing after a few more years in football. But we also missed out on maybe 6 or 7 great years of baseball from him.
All right, Parlay Kid, let's go to you. We have a lot of things we could do with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I know you have a couple of Yankee things. Maybe even pick the Knicks game from the other night.
I could have I could just go right back
Yeah.
to the Knicks game on Wednesday night. But so I'll go back to 2001 with the Yankees and D-backs, that World Series, that Game 7. Because if you remember, obviously, 2001, right after 9/11,
Yep.
the Yankees had this remarkable playoff run, which kind of gave New York City and New Yorkers some life at that point, gave us some hope. And they had those stirring comeback wins late in games, Brocious home run, Tino home run, Jeter home run to win games. And they go back to Arizona, get hammered in Game 6, and they take it to Game 7. And you got the best closer in the history of the game on the mound. And things just kind of fell apart there, and we lost Game 7. And that hit me hard. That hit me really hard. I really wanted that for myself and all New Yorkers. So I'd have to go with that. That was a real rough one to take.
You know how much I hate the Yankees, and that was the only time I was ever rooting for the Yankees.
That's what I mean. So that was a rough one for sure. That's the one.
Kim, getting them back in it, that was fun. All right, listen, I have a lot of the same as you with the Cowboys, right? First of all, maybe even Dak Prescott getting drafted, because Parlay Kid, aside from the injury, Romo probably still could have gone a couple more years. Definitely, I think, would have taken us to the playoffs.
Good point.
Lost to the Packers that year with Prescott starting. So I don't know. And, Dak hasn't really brought us to the promised land the last 5 or 6 years. So I hate to say it, but maybe drafting Dak. I could say, talk about big dates, January 6th, not the one everyone's thinking of, although that wasn't great either. 2011, the Cowboys hire Jason Garrett on January 6th. 2007, Romo fumbles that K-ball, that shiny ball against Seattle. I go to the movies that night and I cry at Blood Diamond. So I'm going to say that. But overall, because of this little brother Yankee Met thing, I'm going to say Timo Perez's base running era. Pratt hits it to the wall. Perez gets hung up, doesn't score. They lose that game. They end up losing to the Yankees in 5. Would they have won the series had they won that? Of course they would. Of course they would have. Anyway, that's my pick. Harry, let's get to you. What's yours?
Same as like Miz in 1987. I'm going to go national basketball title game. My own Syracuse Orangemen against Indiana. Keith frickin' Smart and Bobby Knight killed me that night. I was 16. The Big East was booming. Boeheim was getting top-notch recruits from all around the country to come to Syracuse. And yeah, Sal, you mentioned on AO, growing up in upstate New York, during that time, Cuse Hoops was all we had. That was a really special squad. They were a great team. It was a 1-point game at halftime. Syracuse led by 8 with 13 minutes. You could feel it. That Syracuse team was loaded. And for a team that had Ronnie Cycli, he had a double-double in that game. The General, Sherman Douglas, 20-7. And Derek Coleman, who was a freshman, had 19 boards in that game, a record for a freshman in a national title game. And to lose on that turnaround corner jumper was crushing. Now, Syracuse did get their natty 16 years later, but still, that loss still stings.
All right.
And Parlay Kid, that's when I was a fan. That's when I was a sports fan.
That's when he decided he was never going to be a sports fan again. It hurt too much. Speaking of hurting too much, I'm a little surprised, Harry. If you would have changed one sports play, I would have thought it was back when you were played in the Little League and you got cleated in the eye, which forced your left eye to stare at your brain for 35 years before you got that fixed.
Gushing blood, buddy. Gushing blood. I was gushing blood that night.
But you wouldn't change that. It was all Keith Smart's jumping. Okay. All right. Listen, let's move to current sports here.
See,
Knicks,
I was a
Pacers.
fan.
Eastern Conference Finals Game 2. Devastating loss. We did our AAO podcast immediately following. Parlay Kid was like moaning throughout. It was very sexy, to be honest. But I think they bounce back in a must-win. I'm calling it a must-win. I hate this Pacers team's ability to come back, so I'm not going to take the minus 5.5 or 6, whatever it is, 5.5 right now. So I'm going to take Knicks first quarter, Knicks to win the game. That's dead even odds. Now, not the best at winning these first quarters. I think they won 4-6 in the Detroit series. They lost 4-6 first quarters against Boston. Somehow they won the game 1 first quarter, Bri, even though the Pacers looked like they were not going to miss a shot. They hit their first 8 or 9 shots. They come out firing. The crowd will be hot. Chalamet's going to show off his dimples, and that's going to distract Halliburton and everybody. I don't think, we don't see the foul trouble maybe that Brunson was in early on. They play Knicks basketball from the beginning to end. They hold the lead. 118-113, I'll say. Knicks win and lead after first quarter. You get even odds. Parlay Kid, let's do it. 5.5.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be good for me if that's the final score, Sal. Then I'm a loser because I'm going to take the Knicks minus 5.5. And I almost don't hate doing this because now it's just could be a double disaster for me.
This is your spot. The home team loses game 1. It didn't work out great in the second round, but this traditionally has been big.
Traditionally, about 80% of the time, the home team that loses game 1 will win game 2. And they usually do it in super convincing fashion here, Sal. So I'm going to go back to this. It wasn't a friendly one in the early rounds of the playoffs, but this really rings true here. The Garden should be, on fire in game 2 here. The Pacers, let's face it, Sal, they got off to a great start, and they had a great finish. I think for about 85% of that game, the Knicks outplayed them, and I think they really just now – outplay him for about 95% of the game. I think they cover this here. Everybody chips in. OG has a better offensive performance as he always kind of rebounds from a weak one, which was yesterday. I think he gets 20-plus points, and that will be the difference in this game. So Knicks minus 5.5. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Brother Bry, this over-under went from 225.5. I think it started 227, 225.5. Now it's up to 227 as I'm seeing. There's a lot of points, regardless of the overtime in game 1. And you see the same thing happening in game 2.
Yeah, and in game 1, right, it was 221.5. I had the over in that one too. But yeah, I think this one goes over the 227 as well. In game 1, I thought both teams, they shot great early, right, and late in that game. But I kind of think both teams don't mind the pace, right? I think Indy will keep playing fast. And I don't think that was a game necessarily where Tibbs is like, we got to slow things down, right? I thought the Knicks were kind of getting the shots they wanted, and they were playing well for 3 quarters of that game. So, when you look back at Indy, though, Indy has been very good offensively, especially recently on the road in the postseason. So this won't be, as crazy as a game 1, but I do think this still gets to the low 230s, which is what you have, Sal, in your score.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is 231. That's what I said. All right, Harry, Pacers plus 3.5 first half. Boo! I know what you're saying, but boo.
Well, look, this seems like a spot where New York is still in shock, and Indiana continues to ride the emotional wave into the first half of game 2. The Pacers, Brian's mentioned, playing well on the road. They've won 5 of 6 in the postseason on the road this year. Rick Carlisle's a great coach who's been here before. He knows how to handle his team, especially in first half of games, like we saw in game 1. Knicks kind of sleepwalk through the first half. Not saying they're not going to win the game. Sleepwalk in the first half. Pacers plus 3.5 is the play.
Hope you're wrong about that. Game 2 prop. Let's do it. I'm going Halliburton. This is a gutsy bet. Under 20.5. Tyrese Halliburton, under 20.5, minus 130, even on the under there. 3 of his last 4 have gone under 21. Versus Cleveland, he failed to reach 20. That's there. 3 of 5 versus Milwaukee, he failed to reach 21. He's gone 7 of 10 postseason games with 0, 1, or 2 threes. So don't let Wednesday fool you a little. By the way, his toes on the line, so that wasn't even a 3. Also, I think they've fixed the rim. Please fix the rim so that balls can't hit off the back iron and then up in the air and glance the 1994 Rangers Stanley Cup flag and bounce back in the net. Please let that not happen again. Halliburton under 20.5, minus 130. Parlay Kid, Brunson, 3 plus 3s. You get plus money for this, huh?
Yeah, getting plus money at Brunson 3+3s. I think for the most part, son, I really do like what you're saying, but obviously going to see a lot of over takers here in these props because it's such an offensive series for sure. So I'll go Brunson over 3+3s, getting a plus number. And he's done this in 7 out of the 13 playoff games so far. Only shot at 1 for 6 in game 1. If there was anything offensively, besides maybe some turnovers too, that he didn't do well, was shoot it well. But as Brother Brian just alluded to, the Knicks did get good looks, and Brunson had good looks throughout the night. I would think we're going to see kind of an angry Brunson here, taking over the game at some points. I think he might get 3 by halftime, Sal, in this one. So that's my prediction. Let's go Brunson 3+3s.
All right, there you go. Brian, what do you got for us here?
Yeah, I'm doing something similar, but a same game parlay here. Brunson 2+3s and Towns 10 or more rebounds.
That's
like Darren was saying, Brunson only shot 1 of 6 from 3. In 2 of his last 3 games, he's only made 1 3. But I think at home, I don't see that necessarily happening again. And like Darren, I think he more likely gets 3 than he would 1. So 2 is a good number here. And then Towns just continues to put up good stat lines, no matter how frustrating he can be. To Knicks fans, he's had 10 rebounds or more in 8 of his last 9 games. And even last night, I was a little worried. He only had 5 rebounds going into the fourth quarter, but somehow got, I think he got like his 11th in the fourth quarter there. So as long as Hart's not stealing a ton of those rebounds from him, I think 10 rebounds seems like a lock. So Brunson 2+3s and Towns 10 or more rebounds at -113.
All right, Harry, you don't want him to have too many rebounds, Karl-Anthony Towns, do you?
No, I'm going to go under 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Towns at -118. Now, Towns went for 35, 12, and 2 in game 1. By far his best game of the postseason, probably best game of his playoff career. But he's disappeared in the playoffs before in Minnesota. And after such a devastating loss, him and some of his teammates might not show up for all 48 minutes of the game. Plus, he's gone for 37 combined just twice in his last 9 games, under 36.5, Sal.
Good job, fellas. I think we're all saying the same thing. The Knicks are going to win the title. Stick around. We'll be back with more on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend here with the D3. True story, it actually used to be the D4, but Harry's brother Scott decided he'd rather pick onions than pick games for a living. So here we are, over to the ice. We've got another good one in the Western Conference. The Oilers keeping all of Canada's hopes alive against the Dallas Stars. Game 2, Dallas in Game 1 had 5 third-period goals to take it 6-3. Is this Dallas's year? Cooper, Flag, the Stars, Dak Prescott saying he's blessed. I don't know. It's all happening so fast. 3 power play goals for Dallas in Game 1. I'm going to take a player prop in Game 2. Miro Heiskanen, 1+ point, -102. He had a goal and assist in Game 1. He scored a point in 8 of the last 9 games. Why is this only -102? He scored a point in 8 of the last 9. It's pretty good for a defenseman. Maybe that's why, because he's a defenseman. I don't know. We're getting a nice frozen value here. -102. Heiskanen, 1+ point. Harry, take it away. What do you like?
I got a same game parlay, Sal. Oilers to win the game and McDavid to have at least 2 shots on goal at plus money, +116. Edmonton blew a 2-goal lead in Game 1. McDavid, who's the leader of this team, obviously threw a post-game tirade, saying what his team is doing isn't enough. If that's not enough to fire up the Oilers, I don't know what is. They get back in the series here. Dallas cashed in, like you mentioned, Sal, on 3 power play goals on Wednesday. That won't happen again. Edmonton plays a much smarter game. They're 4-1 still this year in 5 playoff games on the road. And McDavid has at least 2 shots on goal, Sal, in all 12 of the Oilers' postseason games.
Yeah, I think part of that pep talk / tirade was like, and let me tell you something, I'm going to have 2 shots on goal plus, and you could bank on it. So that's good. I mean, you're really just taking from the speech. All right, Bri, you like the Oilers to come out strong.
Yeah, I like them to score the first goal at -105. After getting dominated in the third period against the Stars, I'd expected Oilers to come out with a good first period. They scored the first goal in Game 1. They've scored the first goal in their last 4 games. They scored the first goal in their last 3 playoff games with the Stars, including last postseason. And Dallas has not gotten off to great starts in their last few here. So I'll take the Oilers scoring the first goal at -105.
Parlay Kid Rantanen is usually Harry's guy, but have you checked with him? Are you allowed to take his pick? I don't know how this works.
I think I am, Sal. I think I am allowed. Yeah, right, Harry. How did the Stars get this guy? Wow, he's been great, but he hasn't been great lately. I'm going to be taking Rantanen plus 140 anytime goal scorer. Like last week, I took Matthews to score a goal after having a drought. Well, Rantanen hasn't scored in 4 straight. The last 3 games, he's put 10 shots on the net with no luck. I think one of these going to get through here, Sal, especially because now that we've seen kind of the Edmonton goaltending finally was broken in period 3 the other night after being so outstanding for so long. Maybe now they get back to their old ways of playing. The Stars might have found a formula here. Let's take their best offensive player, Rantanen, to score a goal at plus 140.
All right, let's change gears here. WNBA season's begun, and it's not too early to start discussing MVP. It's not too late either, I know. Let's give out some early picks here. Caitlin Clark is the favorite. Big mistake, plus 105. Harry, you're going to go with Caitlin Clark because all you do really is pick favorites, right?
Not really, but I am going to go with Caitlin Clark at plus 105. I'm a big fan of hers. And nobody is talking about the WNBA if not for Clark, no matter what Angel Reese says. Clark had a tremendous rookie season and already in her second year leads the league in assists with almost 11 a game. She's got a fantastic stat sheet for the Fever, 24 points a game so far, 8 boards, and like I said, 11 assists a game. And she's also getting 2 steals a game. Not a lot of value here at plus 105, but a win is a win, and Caitlin Clark is a winner.
100-1 for Angel Reese for MVP. I mean, if I were Caitlin Clark, that would, to me, would be the biggest bragging rights right there. Like, look at your odds, look at mine. All right, Brian, you and I are going with Aja Wilson plus 340. This went up. This was 3-1, now 340 today. She won, obviously, 3 times in 2022 and 24. Maybe there's some age fatigue with the voters, but I don't know. She was like unanimous last year. 4th player to win 3. I don't even think we're banking on a Caitlin Clark injury here, right? She can match her stat for stat. 26.5 points, 13.5 assists, 13.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2.5 steals. So I think she'll be neck and neck with Caitlin Clark all year, and you agree with me.
Yeah, well, first of all, Harry said nobody would be talking about the WNBA, but he knows for sure I would be talking about it a lot,
true.
at least. So
he's not nobody.
But yeah, I mean, I love Aja Wilson here at plus 340. You know, I kind of first wanted to go with Collier, but I didn't think her odds were great because I do think I did pick the Lynx to win this. But, you know, I was looking at Collier and I was like, you know, she'd probably have to score 27, 28 points per game to outjump, you know, Wilson here because Wilson's numbers are just so good considering you also have to add in she's probably the best defensive player in the league. So Wilson's going to get 25 plus a game. She's going to average 11, 12 rebounds, if not more. She's going to get a ton of stocks, a ton of blocks, a ton of steals. And I just don't think Collier can match her stat-wise. Now, they could win a lot more games this year potentially, but I think that's the only way Collier can match her there. So I think Asia's best value, and like you said, she's like the Jokic right now, and that maybe it's not fun anymore to pick her, but she's still the best player, best value at plus 340.
When you win unanimously year to year, I mean, I think you could maybe throw the fatigue thing out there.
Yeah.
Collier, Parlay Kid, second lowest odds, plus 230. That's who you like.
Yeah, I like her in the preseason poll amongst the GMs in the WNBA. They favored her to be the MVP of the league. She was runner-up last year. She was the defensive player of the year, and maybe that's not getting factored in here. Last year she was. So that's a tremendous asset also for her. She's already off to a good start, averaging 28 and 6 so far for possibly the best team in the WNBA. I mean, the MVP a lot of times goes to the best player on the best team, and she fits that description here, Sal. Plus 230, I still feel pretty comfortable with those odds. I like it. Take Collier.
All right, let's do our French Open pick. There's a lot of discrepancy. We don't even know when this is starting. We think it could be, it could have started last week or maybe Sunday. We're not sure. Harry's in the same time zone, so he could figure it out. But let's do it. And the men's side, Carlos Alcaraz is plus 110. He was last year's winner. He's the favorite to repeat. Yannick Sinner is plus 200. On the women's side, Sabalenka plus 230 and Iga Swiatek plus 290. She's won the last 3. I think we have men's picks here. Harry, okay, you didn't go with the favorite. I'm proud of you. What are you doing here with a 24-1 long shot?
Yeah, I'm taking an Italian, but it's not Yannick Sinner.
Oh.
It's who's ranked number 1 in the world, like you said, Sal. I'm going to take 23-year-old Lorenzo Musetti. He's ranked 8th in the world. Had his best season of his career last year in 2024. He made $2.7 million. He's already made $1.7 million this year. He's at 24-1. The Italian Open just now, he beat Medvedev. He beat Alexander Zverev. He's on the cusp of really breaking open here, and I'm going to go 24-1. He was 30-1 a couple days ago, so someone's on him as well. Musetti at 24-1.
It's funny listing how much the guys have won. That's a new one, right? We haven't really heard that. That rivals Harry's reach stat for
true.
MMA fights. Okay.
True.
Bri, you're going favorite here. Alcaraz plus 110.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alcaraz at plus 110. You know, the French Open typically, right, it was dominated by Nadal for the longest time, right? And then Joker, you know, won some of those in between. But for a while, I've thought Alcaraz would maybe be, you know, the next Nadal here, at least at the French Open playing on clay. He's the type of player, it seems like he could, you know, win like 6 of the next 7 there at Roland Garros. So I'll take him at plus 110 because I think, again, he's the type of guy you just keep betting here over the next couple of years because he's going to win a bunch of them.
All right. You know, I was going to, between Alcaraz and Sinner here, and as Harry mentioned, Sinner's number 1 in the world. I had Sinner plus 1.5 sets over Alcaraz. I think it was last Saturday. Didn't come through. He lost a tiebreaker and then was smoked in the second set. That was his first straight set loss in 95 games. That's pretty good. And he had a streak of 25 in a row that ended last week. And coming back after a 3-month break, I think it's these two on clay, and I like him at almost 2-1. Maybe Alcaraz gets picked off in the quarters or the semis. I'm going back to the well with the Italian superstar. Plus, what is it? What'd I say? 200 for Yannick Sinner. All right, Parlay Kid, finish this off.
Yeah, like Harry, I'd take a long shot here, but also a pretty good player in Casper Ruud, 29-1. Sal, he's ranked 7th in the world. He has won 12 tournaments on clay in his career. He is a 2-time French Open finalist, 22 and 23. 29-1 for a guy with those credentials. Let's take him. Very solid player.
Let's do it. Let's make some money. All right, fellas, enjoy your holiday weekend. Bride, Darren, don't eat too many hot dogs. Harry, don't eat too many Cracker Jack prizes. We're going to be right back to wrap things up on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. We are all out of time, and I just realized I left a plate of taquitos in the microwave. My thanks to The Miz. I wish I believed in anything the way he believes in the Cleveland Browns. And thanks to the D3, who I've set the line at over under SPF 45.5 this holiday weekend. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. And please always remember, you may feel like an underdog, but just know you're all my favorites. Happy handicapping and happy Memorial Day.